Alright, welcome everyone to the video. Hope you're all having a great day, and today I'm going to be giving you a Star Wars Rebels Season 1 review. It's been a while since I've watched Star Wars Rebels, and I am rewatching them right now. So I am going to go ahead and give you my thoughts and comments on Season 1. So to get started, I will just go over all of the episodes, tell you my initial thoughts, and how I kind of rate them, some of my favorites, and then I'll just go with an overall review and kind of rating for the whole season. So to start out, we have episode 1, which was the Spark of the Rebellion, and this is when Ezra Bridger meets the whole Ghost crew. And these were definitely one of the weaker episodes of the whole show, just because they were trying to find out what they were, like what they wanted to do with the show. I feel like they probably had the plan all along, but it kind of took us to get to know the characters to enjoy them, I feel. So they definitely weren't the strongest. You had corny lines. It wasn't very deep, obviously, but it was an okay intro to the characters in the show. So that one was not bad. George in Distress, episode 3. Spark of the Rebellion was part 1 and 2, so episode 3 is George in Distress. This one you get already a cameo with C-3PO and R2-D2, so that was cool. That was not a bad episode, but again, nothing deep, nothing super good or anything. The next one I did personally like pretty well, which was Fight or Flight, and this is where Ezra and Zeb run an errand to get market supplies and stuff, and they end up having to steal an Imperial TIE Fighter. It's pretty good. At the end of the episode, spoilers, they don't get rid of it, and it's used later on in the season. So that it's an episode that has a purpose to it, because they do come back to the TIE Fighter and have a use for it. So I do like that. But just an overall good episode. There's a relationship with Ezra and Zeb that kind of grows in this episode, so there is a point to this episode. So I think this is kind of one of the first strong episodes. And the next episode is Rise of the Old Masters, episode 5, and this one is actually a pretty good episode. This is where they infiltrate a high guard facility, high security facility, to try and recapture Luminara Unduli, because they think she is alive, and she turns out not to be. And then they meet the Grand Inquisitor, which was a really cool intro. So this is definitely a good episode. This is kind of the first episode, I believe, where you get to see Ezra and Kanan training, or Kanan training Ezra. So it was definitely a pretty good episode. The next episode was Breaking Ranks, which is one of my favorite from season 1. This is the one where Ezra goes undercover to retrieve some information, and you kind of get to see what the Imperial Academy looks like, what they do for training, and it's just an overall good episode. There is a purpose to this one as well, where they come back to some of the characters that you meet in this episode. So it's just an overall really cool episode, one of my favorites in season 1. And next episode is episode 7, Out of Darkness, and this one is about Hera and Sabine being stranded on an asteroid, I believe it is, while they are on a supply run to get some supplies from an old, I think it's a Republic base, and they get in trouble and have an incident with these animals. I forgot what they're called, but they're some sort of deadly creature that have lived inside the base, and they're sensitive to light. So it's a pretty simple one. I almost feel like it's a filler episode, but they do return to this planet again, Kanan and Ezra, in another episode. So again, this one has some purpose. That's what I do like about Rebels in general, is that even the filler episodes aren't completely pointless, because they normally come back to one of the topics or places or people or something from that episode. So another okay episode. Wasn't a huge fan of it, but yeah, so on to the next one, which is episode 8, Empire Day, and this one I actually liked pretty well. In this episode you get to see the advanced TIE fighter that Vader uses, and it's debut and everything for the Inquisitors in the show. And you get to see a little bit more about Ezra's past, And also in this episode you meet a character named Zebo, which actually has the Imperial like cyber unit that is on Lobot in episode 5 Empire Strikes Back, the guy that's with Lando and everything. So you get to see that Imperial tech in this episode, which is kind of cool. So Zebo, which is kind of the, I guess, main character in this episode, finds a way to get away from the Empire, and Ezra finds Zebo, which Zebo knew Ezra's parents, so a bunch of stuff happens there, but overall it was a pretty good episode. And episode 9, Gathering Forces, is the episode where you get to see Ezra use his knowledge and training of connecting with animals to use it kind of in combat, which is really cool to see. You get to see him like connect with this giant, I guess it's like the Queen Firenok, I believe is the creature, and he uses it against the Grand Inquisitor, which comes on the little asteroid base that we got to see a few episodes ago. I believe it was episode 7. So we get to return to this asteroid place with the Firenoks, and Ezra connects with all of them, including the big queen, and it's just a cool really cool scene. You get a kind of first glimpse of him kind of using the dark side powers, but for good, you know, Ezra's terms of good. So overall it was a really good episode. I did enjoy it. I'd say it's like kind of the middle one, or maybe a little above average in terms of how good the episode was, but it wasn't like my favorite episode. So that is what I thought about episode 9, Gathering Forces. So this episode, episode 10, Path of the Jedi, is actually a very good episode. You get to see a Jedi temple that isn't like the main Jedi temple from Coruscant, which is cool because I don't think we've seen one before, and especially not one like this that's kind of hidden. So it's really cool. You get to see how it's opened and like what it kind of is all about. And another cool thing that I really like that I didn't realize even the first time I watched this, but this episode actually shows another way you can get your Kyber crystal, because we got to see it in the Clone Wars episodes with all the youngling like episodes that we got to see, and that was where they went to like this snowy planet and they all had like a timeline to go get their crystal and find it. So it almost is, it is actually kind of similar if you look at it, where it's them having to find a path and conquering a fear. Ezra's was just maybe a little bit more extreme, I guess, but it's kind of cool to see that there were other ways to get Kyber crystals and stuff. So I think that's the coolest thing in this episode, is just seeing another way that the Jedi were able to get their Kyber crystals. Sorry, can't talk today. But yeah, so that episode was really cool just for that. But overall, great episode. Another one that I did actually like in season 1. So episode 11, Idiot's Array, is the second episode where we get another major cameo, and this is the one where we get to see Lando. And after watching Han Solo, or Solo: A Star Wars Story, this episode actually has a lot more like Easter eggs and stuff in it that do reference to Solo: A Star Wars Story. So it's pretty cool. It's really cool actually, because you do get to see Lando throughout the whole episode. It's not just like a little cameo, like it's based around him. I'm not for sure if it is Billy D. Williams that does the voice acting, but it does sound kind of like him. So yeah, but you get to see him playing Sabacc with Zeb, and he wins, but Zeb claims that he cheated, which if you watched Solo: A Star Wars Story, spoilers, he is a cheater. He normally has like a super good card or something hidden away. So that was kind of cool reference to how he is so good at Sabacc, because he actually cheats. But yeah, so really cool bits and pieces in this episode, but overall it was cool just to see Lando make an appearance, and I think they kind of needed some of these cameos that they've gotten in season 1 just to kind of get people with the feel of the show, so it doesn't seem completely different, because these are all new characters. You know, with the Clone Wars we had characters we knew about, so it was already kind of Star Warsy, but this is something we don't have a lot. This was the first time we really got content in the original trilogy that was after the original movies. So with having new characters and all that, they kind of needed some appearances from people we know about. So it's definitely a good choice, and overall a good episode. Alright, so episode 12, Vision of Hope, is a pretty good episode. This one is, I think, the first time you get to see Ezra having a vision, and it is about this like senator who speaks out for the rebellion and everything, so they think. So they go out and try and rescue him because they see that the Empire is planning to sabotage his like speech and everything for the rebellion. So they go try and save him, but then realize that he is actually for the Empire, and they're using basically him to draw in the rebels and exterminate them. So I don't remember if it had anything super important. I don't remember anything like super awesome or cool in the episode. It was one of those like pretty good episodes, nothing special. But I didn't mind this episode. It wasn't one of the like bad episodes. So overall, not too bad. And episode 13, Call to Action. This is a cool episode because we get to see Grand Moff Tarkin appear in this episode, and he's super strategic like he should be, and figures out where the rebels are going to be after they figured out that that senator was working for the Empire. They decided to try and hit an Imperial transmission tower and make their own inspirational message, but Grand Moff Tarkin figured it out. And this is the episode where Kanan gets captured, I believe, and pretty sad moment, but they are going to try and get him back in the next few episodes. But overall, this was a good episode. I really liked this episode. So episode 14, Rebel Resolve. This one's a pretty straightforward episode. It just shows Ezra trying to get some sort of intel on where Kanan is, and goes to try and save him without Hera's consent, because Hera ordered everyone to not go after Kanan, and that he made the sacrifice to save them all. But in the end, Hera's with him, and yeah, so they go and save Kanan, or try to, and that is what the last episode is about, the finale, which is Fire Across the Galaxy. And this episode is actually very good because few things happen, very major things. First thing is that the Grand Inquisitor dies. The next thing, Kanan gets saved and he's all good. Another minor thing is that Ezra gets a scar, and also they keep his scar throughout the whole season, so it's kind of a cool little touch, makes him look a little bit more detailed since the animation is very simple. But I think the biggest reveal, obviously, is that they reveal who Fulcrum is, which is a contact that appears here and there, spotted on different episodes, and everybody always wonders who Fulcrum is. And it is revealed that Ahsoka is Fulcrum, and we get to see Ahsoka and some more of like the actual rebellion and the rebel fleet. So those are some big awesome things that happen in Fire Across the Galaxy. So definitely not a bad finale. It's probably the weakest, but there's only 4, not many seasons, and all of those were, I believe, 45-minute specials, and they were all like super good, so it's kind of hard to beat those, but it was still definitely a good finale. So those were my thoughts on each individual episode. Overall, the first season was good, but as Star Wars Rebels goes on, it just gets better and better. So it is technically my least favorite season, but it still had some really good episodes. Just going back over, I really liked Breaking Ranks, which is the one where Ezra goes undercover. That one is one of my favorites in season 1. Empire Day I did really like. Path of the Jedi was another really good one, because you get to see how the Kyber crystals are collected as Jedi Padawans or younglings or whatever. So that was definitely a cool episode. And then Fire Across the Galaxy was probably the other one, and Idiot's Array with Lando Calrissian. So those were probably my favorites and the ones that I do really like. The rest are either pretty good or I didn't even really like them too much, but overall it was still a pretty solid season. I know for a lot of people it took the second season to really get used to the show and to really like it. But if you just kind of get through the first season, get used to the characters, and you go onto season 2, I think you'll really start to like the show. So that is it for my Star Wars Rebels Season 1 review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of Star Wars Rebels personally. If you like it even better than the Clone Wars, maybe. If you don't, I'm kind of mixed about it. Generally, I do like the Clone Wars better, to be honest, but I still definitely like Star Wars Rebels a lot, and it keeps getting better and better. Sad to see that it ended, but it's definitely a good show. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.